with all of the hardware taken off the guitar, I'm ready to try and remove the neck. And the way that this process works is that you remove a fret nearest to the joint. So in this case, I'm going to be removing the 15th fret, I believe. And I'm going to be sticking down the stick here and trying to heat up the joint. Now, I don't know for certain, but I'm hoping that this is a dovetail joint. And so what you end up doing is you remove one of the frets, you put the stick in there, it heats up, and then the glue joint softens up, and then you can actually pull the neck off. And so that's the theory, at least. So the first step for me is to actually remove the 15th fret. So I took my time there and luckily didn't have much damage to the fretboard at all. Looks like there's one chip that I can probably just push down and fix with CA glue. And so now that the fret has been removed, the next step is to take a drill and drill a hole here. Now the thing about this process that you need to account for, and that I'm a little worried about, is there should be a metal bar going up the middle here. You know, the truss rod helps you adjust the bend of the neck. And so you need to drill in such a way that you drill it at an angle, you land in the middle of the joint, but don't hit the metal bar. And so hopefully I get this right on the first try. That is one of the reasons why you remove the fret, because you know there's already a gap here. And so presumably you can get in the right spot without leaving a gigantic hole in the middle of the wood. Okay, so I used an 1/8 inch drill bit, my homemade tool. I used the solid copper 8 gauge, which is also an 1/8 of an inch. And so the idea here is that I'll be able to stick this down into the hole. Hopefully we're not too exact here to fit. Looks like I might need to wiggle out the hole a little bit, but that's the theory. And so once I get this to fit inside, I'll plug in this iron, let it start to heat up, and then hopefully I will just be able to wiggle the neck off. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. I've got my homemade heat stick in the fretboard. I made sure I didn't drill through the neck in any way right here. And so hopefully this is the right spot. I'll plug this in, let it start to warm up. I have some gloves right here. As the neck warms up, I'll probably put them on and start to try and manipulate it. I also have a little cup of water with a pipette in it. Apparently what you're supposed to do to kind of measure your progress is after this heats up a little bit, you can squeeze some water in there, and as the neck joint starts to loosen up, apparently the water will start to come out the bottom here. And so the only thing left is to plug it in and see how this goes. I've been trying for a few minutes to just kind of rock this back and forth, And the important thing here is the heat is supposed to completely liquefy the glue. And so this is not going to be a matter of force, but rather as I'm pushing on this neck, I should start to feel the joint kind of get much looser with the glue giving up. And I should be able to just lightly take this whole thing out. Although I don't think it's affecting it too much, I probably could have used a shorter bit of copper. If it feels like this isn't going as fast as I'd like, I could potentially just snip off the end, just in case there were any heat loss or significant heat loss from having this much outside of the joint. So I'm rocking this back and forth. What's actually interesting is because this fretboard is hovering over the guitar body, I can use it like a seesaw of sorts. And so it's been about 5 minutes or so. I've been just trying to rock the neck back and forth. And the neck seam right here, you can actually start to see it moving a little bit. And so we're definitely getting heat in the right spots. Just going to keep working it until it comes out. I'm going to pipe a little bit of water in to see if I can get that effect that they're talking about, where water comes out of the bottom of the guitar. That would let me know I'm getting pretty close. It's definitely getting there. It's been about a half an hour that this has been warming up. You might need to use a higher wattage soldering iron. I also have bent this wire a little bit, and so it looks like this might be a little bit too long. I actually have a leftover scrap from before, so I can revise this design a little bit. But overall, I mean, the neck is starting to get wiggly, and so hopefully pretty soon it will pop on out. So it's the next day, got a change of clothes. Obviously you can see the neck is not attached to the guitar anymore, but this did not go the way I'd hoped. So yesterday you could see I was struggling, I was even breaking a sweat trying to get this going. And I couldn't figure out if it was because the neck joint wasn't a dovetail or some other issue was going on. And as the neck started to give way, what I didn't realize was there was a crack, or at least a weak spot in the neck. And so I was just gently rocking it back and forth. The neck joint actually split in half, or not half, but it just split. And so what I have now is my piece of neck here. I have the remainder of the heel is still in it. And, it happened. Now what I've been able to do is actually to see why the neck was warped on this side, this direction. And it's because looks like when they tried to install a pickup in it, someone shaved the wood off. And so this side is considerably thinner than this side, and I suspect what happened was the neck warped a little. The other thing about this Gretsch neck, now that I've taken it off, is they use a really thin piece of wood right here as the extension, but that's actually only glued to the rest of the neck. And so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do here. I've mangled this neck pretty bad. It's possible, now that I have all of this taken apart anyway, that I might just actually take the whole fretboard off. To get into here, originally I put a piece of, I put the heat stick in, and I don't know if it was just the heat was so much next to this inlay, that inlay actually smoldered a little bit. And so, once I had that, then I took the inlay out, I drilled some bigger holes to kind of get at this. And so, yeah, as my first attempt at a project like this is not how I wanted it to go. But in some ways, this is, good practice, good reminder when you're working on vintage guitars, that the wood, could potentially be, considerably dried out and a lot more fragile than you think. So I'm actually going to continue on with this project. I don't want to make it seem like I'm going to throw this guitar away, but the first thing I'm going to do is get the rest of the neck heel out, figure out, this is pretty jagged looking break, but if all the pieces are there, it might actually glue together pretty well. See if I can clean it up and then figure out what to do with this fretboard extension. So yeah, it's a much bigger project than I would have expected, partly due to my own fault. Thanks for watching.